I buy Bitcoin regularly, right? And
Yeah.
I've had a lot of coins at lower prices, but I continue to buy coins. People familiar with accounting are probably familiar with FIFO, LIFO as terms, right?
Yeah.
I'd imagine that, that's got to be something that you really have to detail, but can be critically important as far as your cost basis goes, right? Because if I'm selling, a couple of Bitcoins at a profit, I want to make sure that from an accounting standpoint, it's showing that I'm selling the most recently purchased ones, or the ones that are at least at the highest price, so I'm paying the least amount of tax. Does that make sense? And how do you do that? Is that something that you guys do? What's your advice there?
So the rules changed this year. So 2024, we just closed out our last 2024 clients for the extension on October 15th. And that point, you could choose whatever cost-based model you wanted. So, that's, highest in, first out is typically one of the best. So, if I acquired a Bitcoin at $95,000 and I sold it $100,000, but I also had a Bitcoin I acquired back in the day for $5,000, I want to sell the $95,000 one first. So I'm only getting taxed on $5,000. I want to be taxed on $95,000.
Exactly.
So being able to choose, so that highest in, the last one you got, and is going to be the first one out, is the method you would want to escape an enormous tax bill, right? So that's all gone away. Now, of course, this is one of the worst things. Now everything defaults to FIFO now. So that would be that first coin you ever bought is now going to be taxed first.
Oh, that's going to be, in most cases, that's going to be the most painful.
It's going to be terrible. And now, but for traders, you guys have to realize this. I mean, there is hope here. You can use Spec ID, and Spec ID is the best of all of them. That means all the HIFOs and LIFOs and all those, you get to pick which one makes most sense for you. But you need to call it before you make the trade. So it's like pulling up at the 3-point line, calling your shot, then shooting it, the ball. That's basically the new rule that the IRS has put out. So it's a loophole.
What is that? I'm not 100% following.
Yes. Let me break that down for you. So you need to basically call out at the beginning of the year, for instance, that you're going to be using HIFO as your cost-based model for the entire year. And you want to do that. And we do that through a piece of paper where you come on with us and, you sign a piece of paperwork and we put in DocuSign, timestamp it and say, hey, for Jeff Smith this year, we're going to make sure that, as of January 1st, every trade that he makes, he's going to be making it based on this cost-based model. Otherwise, the IRS is going to default everything to FIFO. So that is one way you can do it. Others are arguing that, like, if you kind of tune up your platform and show that you've been doing it since the first day, or you set all your settings in for that method, you can do that. But pushing it off a third party, whether it's us, whether it's another firm, it's doing something. I haven't heard anybody doing something that's similar to this yet. But that's a way that we can document it and show kind of an audit trail that, hey, you chose to use a Spec ID model that allows for a better cost basis outcome.
So you have to declare it at the beginning of the year. Gotcha. I bet you most people don't even know that exists. I know I didn't. So unless you're working with somebody like yourself, then you really, you're going to be defaulting to the FIFO, or is that right? But here's the question. Do you guys do an analysis? Because I like to think of all different scenarios in my brain here, right? So in a lot of cases, it's probably pretty clear, cut and dry what would be most beneficial for you, right? I mean, I bought all my coins years ago. Price is much higher now, but I bought some recently. But there's probably a point where you really need to do some analysis, because if you've held the coin for longer than a year, you're going to pay only capital gains, long-term capital gains. If you've held it for less than that, you're going to pay ordinary income tax. So there's probably has to be some deep analysis on, like, which method do I want to use based on the price that I got each coin at and what my tax liability would be? Because, maybe you got coins at a lower price, but you're only paying 20%. And maybe that's going to be less than if you bought coins at a slightly higher price and you're going to pay ordinary income. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you want to go through, and also you go back. I mean, you have to start. This is another thing that people don't understand too, is they come to us and say, oh, I just want to do my 2025 taxes. And we're like, of course. But the issue is in order to establish cost basis, it's the amount of USD you first put on the exchange somewhere. And whether you moved it all around from your exchange to your DEX to wherever, to some cold storage and back, I mean, that's where the chase begins, because we need to be able to show that all the way through. So you can't just pick a year and say, oh, I only want to go back 3 years because the IRS only audits back 3 years. You have to go back, like myself, and start going from 2016 all the way up. Does that just rack a huge tax bill? Not really. I mean, it's like it's palatable for getting it done right in having the compliance piece, and then also probably going back and finding even years that where you can have the proper optimizations you need. It pays for itself. So it's a good thing going forward. And then when you're all on Coinly and everything's done, everything just starts piping in, and then every year becomes a lot easier.